Hi, welcome to Business Influencers with TALRadio. Hope everyone is doing great. You found us here at the TALRadio.org website, and hopefully that you're also following us here also on Spotify, Apple, and our YouTube channel at Business Influencers. Again, we've had many of our great guests sharing their words of wisdom and insights to help elevate your level of success and influence to the next level. Again, if you'd like to hear future content that has not been shared here on the show, feel free to reach out to us here at Business Influencers at Chris@ChristopherSalem.com. Be more than happy to chat with you in that particular area. All right. With that being said, we got a great show for you today. Our show is being brought to you today by Alumni Direct. Alumni Direct is a new social media community platform dedicated to bringing alumni together from all different generational types and an opportunity to meet new people for the first time. Now, this is a membership program, taking out all the noise out of social media. No more of those noisy notifications. You get to come in and generate genuine and authentic connections with the people you choose to interact with and the content you choose to share. If you'd like some more information about Alumni Direct, check them out at alumnidirect.com. That's alumnidirect.com. Well, we got a great show. We're going to be talking about total disruption for maximum results. We're here with Michael Libercci. If I spelled, Mike, did I say your last name correctly?
It's Libercci, but
Libercci,
yes.
Libercci. I got it there. Okay. Sometimes I am not always great with that, but Libercci. And Michael and I have known each other through an organization called Achieve, which Mike is a high-ranking member, actually one of the co-founders of that organization. And I'm sure he'll share some information on the back end with that as well. But he is a mission-driven leader, best-selling author, co-host of the wildly popular show Total Disruption. As president of Achieve Systems, Mike is dedicated to empowering professionals in the area of fitness, health, nutrition, and therapeutic industries, equipping them with the financial and professional tools to elevate their success. With deep roots in fitness, he inspires both entrepreneurs and individuals to reach their fullest potential. Known for his results-oriented approach, Mike is a sought-after advisor and expert speaker, guiding business leaders, strategic partners, and clients across the globe on techniques to increase cash flow, boost profit margins, strengthen marketing, and enhance client retention. He is a true fixer in the business world, and Mike has led individuals to secure major contracts, design successful marketing campaigns, form joint ventures, and launch new companies. Since transitioning to business coaching in 2008, he has helped countless entrepreneurs, particularly solo fitness professionals, grow from startup to six-figure success. And he has a knack for identifying and dismantling clients' roadblocks and established him as a forward thinker in health and fitness. Today, he advises in marketing, mindset, and strategic positioning for entrepreneurs across various industries, including technology, law, banking, and corporate wellness, guiding them in policy, branding, productivity, and economic stability. And without further ado, Michael, welcome to the show.
Chris, I'm so excited to be here, man. Just hearing that intro makes me sound like I'm somebody. I really appreciate that. It's
Well,
like,
you bring so much knowledge and wealth in this particular area, and let's talk about total disruption. That's not like a bad word, right? We're not disrupting
no,
something to make something bad. We're actually disrupting,
no.
models that don't work anymore have run its course, and now we have to adapt to what is in any situation, or especially in the business world, with change, and do that to maximize results. So let's talk a little bit about total disruption.
Okay, so total disruption, there's a little disclaimer beyond the headline, legal and ethical total disruption, right? I mean, we want to make sure we're not, crossing any crazy boundaries that I'm not even going to get into details, but I'm going to let everybody know who's listening, who has common sense, what those boundaries are. So total disruption came about because my co-host, Jake Clendenning, and I are both business coaches, and we roll through different industries, as my bio said. Okay. And what we're doing is we're doing typical, either the CEO, C-suite, executive mindset and strategy deployment, or CEO, C-suite, downline communication to workforce, where it meets output and sustainability. And we find that through the same model, the industries are slightly broken, and you need something like total disruption, interrupting patterns, getting people aligned with the brand, getting people aligned with a mission again, getting people's personal mission and professional mission running like two parallel train tracks heading in the same direction. I can't stress that delta right there enough, of that personal to professional train track idea. Man, I know, Chris, you're in the business world and you're there every day, and you can say this is really where the rubber meets the road in terms of getting things done, and getting things done quickly, and getting things done with passion. And with disruption, we take a look at some of these thought processes and some of these actions folks are taking, and we say, okay, here, let's interrupt this, let's introduce this, and let's make sure it's in alignment with where you're going. And then let's put a key performance indicator behind it, and then let's get going, right? And then let's regroup, and then let's look at it again, and let's keep going further, right? So that's the essence of total disruption. You gathering that, or did I speak?
Absolutely.
What did you hear when I said that, Chris?
So what I'm going to say with that is, with disruption, that, sometimes, in these cases, we gotta like sometimes revamp, or we gotta like pivot. Sometimes we have to look at different processes and systems. We can't just, sometimes technology runs its course. Sometimes a certain process runs its course, and it worked at the time, but now it's not working. And so sometimes we have to disrupt certain things, even though we're used to doing it, if we're going to get to that next level. Things change. Our buying audience can change. It depends. I mean, we have generational types. We got, all those are different now compared to when you started, if you've been in business a long time.
100%. And internal processes change as well. How someone is handling the world's information, how an individual, whether they be a decision maker or a workforce member, the way that they're handling extraneous pressures, and then the way they're taking care of themselves to show up every day and to show up and be somewhat, I would say, if you can't be 100% every day, obviously the go-getter in me says show up 100% of the time. Why don't we not let that slip below 90, even if we're faking it? Right.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're truly in alignment with what you're supposed to be doing, and let's say your perspective has changed a little bit, and you're starting to show up with where you are at the 80% mark or the 50% mark, it's time for total disruption, right? It's time for you to refresh your scenario internally, and be able to deploy some new thought processes to get back in line as you go through your workday. I mean, Chris, you only get one life. You only have so much time on this world, on this earth. And when you're trying to really make impact, I don't care whether you're a frontline employee, middle manager, C-suite executive, solopreneur, inventor, it doesn't matter. When you're trying to impact people around you, and you're trying to leave some sort of legacy, even if it's around you, right? You got to get yourself back on track. You got to get your company back on track. Now, what do you hear when I'm saying this? What's coming up in your mind?
Well, I mean, again, if you're going to be a business owner that's going to either, one, take your business to another level, you want to increase your valuation in your business because it may be at some point, at the point of exit, you want to get the highest valuation. If you're not embracing these changes or these disruptions, your business is going to be kind of stagnant. And that's what I get. You got to be more proactive rather than reactive. And that's always starts from an inside out approach.
100% of the time. And the inside out approach is key. Like, what is your alignment? Now, this isn't the woo side of things. Alignment just means, what are you doing every day? When you get up, are you basically, parachute is blowing, and all of a sudden your day looks like you grabbing a hold of the reins of the parachute, and the parachute's now blowing you 100 yards down the road or 100 miles down based on the wind? Or are you anchored in the ground enough that you're allowing the parachute to pull you at your own pace? The control of your everyday thought process and the control of what you're thinking about and how you're thinking about going about doing it are two totally different things. There's a way people go through life, and they're a passenger, and then there's a way people that go through life and they're a driver, and it's just a matter of perspective and principles and practices. And then when you're trying to actually get other folks to do things that you need them to do, whether it's buy from you, whether it's sell to you, whether it's work for you, whether it's work with you, those influences that you're under eventually are going to affect the relationships you're managing every single day, whether it's your family or whether it's your company. I can't tell you, I could cite countless examples of executives and just regular folks that are just slogging through the day, right? Productivity's down, energy levels are down. Other half of the coin, productivity's up, energy's up. What is the magic formula between the two? Right here between the ears and eyes.
Yep. So true. So true. So what would you recommend, Mike, when if people that are listening that are either you got small businesses, it doesn't matter what size, but let's just say even if they're small businesses, where do they start? Like where's that total disruption? Again, because it can sometimes be overwhelming because everyone likes to. I got to get it done now. Start with one thing and start. It's a process.
That's the great question. Great question. That is the principle. There's three fundamental principles. I think and I'm going to put them all out and put them in a nice tight box. I know we're pressed for time. We can't sit here and go down. This isn't a workshop, right? We're just trying to get this conversation going. I'm going to say stabilize, optimize, expand, right? Just have that thought process in mind. If something in an arena is a little bit crazy, right? Stabilize it, optimize it, and then expand it. And another couple of examples, as boring as this sounds, look at your financials. Or in a personal world, look at your health scores and blood work, right? If your body and mind are compromised with fatigue and loss of energy, and go get some data, right? Go get some data and look at the data, right? Okay, you got to find your weak points. If you don't look at numbers, sure, you can go by feel, basic stuff for personal care. How am I sleeping? How much water am I drinking? How much crap am I eating? How much am I moving? Done, right? Let me just make micro adjustments in each area. And then every so many days, take a look at how I'm doing based on those. In business, we call them key performance indicators. In the health world, it's biomarkers, right? It's health markers. In a business environment, take a look at your balance sheet, right? Take a look at your P&L. What's going on? If you have a ton of P&L discrepancies, looking through the expenses, where is the problem?
Yeah.
If you don't look at your numbers, you don't look at where you were, you can't look at where you're going, and then you can't deep dive on what the root cause is. And sometimes it's multifactorial, but you don't know unless you're working with numbers. So my thing for somebody to get started, if you're running a company and you're just getting reports from a chief financial officer, I would say have a big spreadsheet session with your chief financial officer. So I'm going to give you a quick example. A friend of mine is he's a CFO of a government agency, one of the branches of the government agency. He has no less than 15 spreadsheets, and he has a meeting regularly with the deputy director of this agency, and they go through all the way down to the finest detailed points. And their budget is balanced within, I think, it's a multi-billion-dollar budget. It's balanced within $6,000. And the deputy director, the director, I should say, not the deputy director, the director has educated on every element. He's just not leaving it up to the CFO. So it's a matter of looking at where and when and what adjustments need to be made, and then what implementations need to be made. How's that for an answer, Chris?
I think that's fabulous. Great information. And I hope everybody that's listening is taking notes, because this is very, very important information. And regardless of the size of your business, I mean, I hope that everyone would think that, hey, you got into a business for a reason, because you wanted to be a business owner. You wanted to grow your business, but who wants to leave a business and leave with nothing? You want to walk away with something, whether even if it's a small amount, or even a good size amount if you plan accordingly. And these are the things that Mike just shared that can help you in that area. So, Mike, anything else that, when you think about, this total disruption for maximum, how important, I mean, a lot of times people think they're prepared or they planned accordingly. And a lot of times they underestimate that area. Can you shed some insight into that particular area?
So you mean plan accordingly for success, or plan accordingly and they're underestimated, they're behind the eight ball?
Either way.
Okay, learn the power of putting the brakes on, right? Learn the power of, oh, I made a mistake, and own it. And then don't be afraid to stop the bleeding. Don't be afraid to renegotiate rates. Don't be afraid to renegotiate employment contracts. Don't be afraid to renegotiate, take the bull by the horns, and get things done that require the hard choices to not compromise the macro. Don't be afraid to put in some extra hours until a quantifiable result has been achieved. The one thing you should slow down before you speed up is your mind, right?
Yeah.
The one thing that you need to make sure is that when you're in this behind the eight ball curve, you're not in a conversation with yourself that you start to believe, right? If you're in a stressful conversation and you're in a negative conversation with yourself, it's going to start to program your brain. Those of you out there that are saying, time out, Mike, since when did we get into woo-woo land? This isn't woo-woo land, right? This is legitimate. This is you influencing you. Or this is a person who is influencing themselves based on one perspective. If you can step aside and write down 3 or 4 other outcomes and try to sort of flush out a solution and or a result, if you're behind the eight ball on how to get yourself out, sometimes it's make more, sometimes it's spend less. But if you force yourself to have different conversations, you can always turn them back off. You can always listen to them. It's called being responsible, right? It's called empowering your own self. And it's called rewriting the ship and feeling good about the decision you've made. Because ultimately, if you're behind the eight ball and you're stuck, being stuck is not going to do anybody any good. It always goes back to impact. Yeah. How am I going to then impact if I'm stagnant? I've got to disrupt. I've got to get back to impact. Does that answer your question?
Absolutely. The impact is, and I think about impact as not only valuable for, the planning and the strategy, but it's also in the experience that you're creating for your customer or client as well. And that's what's going to keep customers sticking around and why customers will refer you and all that as well. So I think it's got a double-edged sword there.
It does. And I feel that a lot of folks, especially middle managers, forget their level and role in the end all be all customer impact. And every piece in the chain has got to work together to form a little bit of a tight chain, right? You want a little play in the chain because too tight it'll snap, too loose it'll flap, right? We don't want that. But what we want is just a little play in the chain. But ultimately, when that chain vibrates from customer all the way back to proprietor, you want to send a nice, easy message. And then when the chain vibrates from the proprietor back to the customer, they're very happy. Because let's face it, Chris, not everybody's going to have a great experience all the time with everything that they buy, everything that they sell, everything that they try. But the only thing we can do as people who impact, people who disrupt, is making sure that flow of information, we're good. We're good. Yep. So there's impact for you.
No, absolutely. I love that. And also talk about, disruption. I mean, sometimes these are going to come in phases, right? It's not that you're going to be disrupting every time, but they come in phases based upon how the business. But talk about the importance of the consistency factor between those periods of disruption, why that's so important. Like consistency, I mean, in carrying out what you did before, that when you made a disruption or a change, and then to the next point when it happens again, whenever that is.
Well, I'm going to bring up a quick counterpoint to that. Sometimes disrupting is taking the noise and sucking it out of the room and stopping. Sometimes disruption is putting on earphones, metaphorically, and going, okay, whoa, stop the chaos. We need to calm down and stay centered. And then staying centered sometimes is becoming consistent, right? So as we create consistency, right? Repetition is the mother of all skill. If you are a retail brand and people walk into your store, what they expect is they expect to walk in, most of the time be directed either by a sign or a greeter where they need to go to the shelf, get what they need to get, go to the checkout line and get the heck out of there. If you don't have it in stock, some sort of smooth, order it from your wherever in the store and have it sent to me, right?
Yep.
Pretty fundamental, pretty consistent. Making sure those thought processes and making sure those operating processes are down and everybody along the way is executing that. Because without consistency, you can't be reliable. Without reliability, nobody's going to trust you.
Yeah.
Consistency and trust go hand in hand. I always say when I make a partnership or a relationship, I'm trying to go for 20, 30 years. I'm trying to figure out, even if it's one major transaction and a lot of little ones, or a lot of little ones and one big one, or just a lot of little ones. It doesn't matter to me. It's me showing up, my business showing up, my offering showing up to make everyone feel comfortable because there he is. He's on time. He's ready to go. He even would never know what's going on in the world behind me because I am present, consistent, and ready to go.
Yeah, that's so true. I love what you just shared there, and it's so powerful. And we highly encourage everyone that what you listen what Mike shared. It's again, regardless of size, this is something that if you're going to work on your business and not in it, this is so important. What you're doing here, and again, you don't have to be the CEO of some 20 million plus up company to be doing this. You could be doing this at any level. So again, whatever what you hear Mike sharing is not something that's conducive to just companies that are doing a significant amount of revenue. This is something that you can even be doing whether if you're a solopreneur or not. Either way, just want to make that clear. Any other things as we get? I mean, we're getting ready near the close, Mike. And before I let people know like where they can find you and anything else you like, is there any final thoughts that you'd like to share in this minute to really bring everything full circle together? What you shared here today.
Yes, somewhere along the line, you've got to trust somebody to help you get to where you need to be, whether you're coming from behind or whether you're already ahead. That person or organization needs to have a plan. They need to be selfless, and they need to be looking at your outcomes to help you get where you need to go. There's some solid advice.
I love it. But Mike, I want to thank you for taking time out of today's schedule to be here with us. And I wanted to leave the next few minutes for this time to let people get to know who you are and how they can get in contact with you and find out more and how you could help them in these areas. Can you share with the audience a little bit more again, like, what's the best way to get in contact with you? What are you up to in these areas that they can maybe get access to or anything you'd like to provide them?
So I have a weekly television show that's on e360tv.com. It's on 4 o'clock Eastern, 7 Pacific, or maybe vice versa, 4 Eastern, 7 Pacific, where Jake and I break down for half an hour all different kinds of business ideas and thought processes. That's Total Disruption on e360tv.com. Or go to www.total-disruption.com. www.total-disruption.com. And you can check out where and when the show is. We have 4 quarterly conferences where we have speakers and presenters that disrupt in tech, disrupt in health, disrupt in just about everything. And in our virtual conferences, you can sit in the comfort of your own home and watch it on our social media channels, or you can subscribe and get a link. They're fantastic conferences. They're about 6 hours, and we have a lot of heavy hitters on there. And you're not really getting sold anything. The idea is just to empower people so they can walk away with some good information. And that's, again, just go to that website I mentioned, and you can find me there.
Awesome. Well, I want to thank you for taking the time to take out of your schedule to be with us here today. Listeners, we want to thank, also make sure that you do reach out to Michael. His information will be in the show notes as well. And, anybody that we bring on, like like Michael, we vetted. We make sure that these are people that you can count on and reach out to get help. And as Mike mentioned before, if you're not asking for help, then you're not helping you and your business move forward. You're not even helping your clients either. So this is why it's so important to reach out to people that, if they have an expertise in this area, let them help you. It'll be worth the time and the investment towards your business. And I know it has, and that's what I always recommend to people in my business. Michael, thank you so much for taking the time again to be here with us.
Thank you, Chris. I really appreciate it. It was a great experience.
Thank you. And listeners, we want to thank you each and every week joining us here at Business Influencers. Again, we are committed to bringing in subject matter experts like Michael in each and every week to help elevate your level of success personally and professionally in your business and your level of influence to the next level. If you, again, would like more information about seeing future content on the show, reach out to us here again at chris@christophersalem.com. Until then, everybody, we will see you next week, and take care.